Aibobo, Aibobo, bon combat. Aibobo, bon combat. Aibobo. They say that the city has been overrun by so-called gangs, and we say so-called gangs because everybody that I know who is close to the situation has said we should be referring to these formations as militias. Yes, militia organizations for a number of different reasons. One of them is that we understand how the term is racialized. The term gang is racialized, yeah, within Western media, but also, and possibly an even more critical reason is that the term gangs would seem to negate the fact that these formations are very much connected to the government, yeah, and very much connected to the elite who are associated with the government. They were armed by the government and were put out there among the masses of the people to do the bidding of the government. And so we refer to them as militias or paramilitary organizations to give them the correct designation as it relates to the context in Haiti. And many have said that, my brother. But I would like for you to give your perspective on these organizations, these formations, if you can. What is your perspective? And do you agree with the fact that this is they're mostly operating in Port-au-Prince? Yeah, so we're not seeing them a whole heap in the rural areas. And if you are able to speak on what is happening in the rural areas, feel free to do so.
I'll start at the tail end, Brother Shakara.
Yes,
they are in some of the rural areas.
Right.
Even in the town of Jeremy, that my sister had to flee to. Not just my sister, my entire family. A good 7 or 8 individuals had to, get themselves to the countryside. Well, I also have a cousin, a young cousin, very enterprising young brother, who's very much growing IT, person. And he's my confidant. He's the one who tells me what's going down, etc. In the southern area, in that countryside. Well, tells me that they're there too, not right. as severe a way as Port-au-Prince, but they have to watch themselves as well. In southern Haiti, and I'm sure they're in other parts. If you go north, this. And let's. And I remember, of course, you said that they were owned by the government. Yes, the government and the oligarchy that runs the country, the mafia oligarchy that runs the country, living largely in Florida. They have such is their power that they can, they can in more or less direct things because they can do it with this. They can with the cash that they suck out of Haiti. But let's be very clear about this. To me, they are entities of the U.S. government as well.
Right.
Not one bullet would they get had the DEA not allow it to go through. And notwithstanding this stuff that was put out just recently, in that the Haitian community was sharing with each other, or how the DEA is confiscating arms, and they had a table full of arms that they had seized, in that. And they're talking about how the difficulty they have in stopping. There's such an abundance of double talk and of straight out lies that sound so plausible and so truthful, coming from official quarters and other quarters, that you think these people, they simply can't stop these armaments from reaching Haiti. Which is, So yes, the opportunists in Haiti are using them for their ends, but let's not be clear that big entity to the north of us is running that, is making sure these hundreds of millions dollars worth of armaments and ammunition flows uninterrupted into Haiti. A lot of it going through the Dominican Republic, which is that entity that is there to more or less keep Haiti locked in, top crushed, created just for that purpose, no
Yes.
other.
Yes. 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 We do know that that it's not controversial that all of the arms are coming through Florida. Yeah, that is well known, and the American government don't seem to be able to stop this. I want to clarify something that you said though, for the sake, because for those who were listening to our sister Jemima Pierre, you said that the gangs, they are in the rural areas, but they're not as intensely as they are in Port-au-Prince. Yeah. Now, what she challenged the idea, because the idea that basically gangs, quote unquote, have taken over the entire country. Okay. And so she was saying that it's mostly in the city, yeah, mostly in Port-au-Prince, but the militias have not overrun the entire country. Would you agree with that assessment?
I do agree with that assessment.
Okay.
They're quite mutually true.
Yes.
They haven't overrun the country, but they're very much the actors, certainly in the heart of Haiti, which is Port-au-Prince, the
Port-au-Prince.
centralization of
Yeah.
everything in Port-au-Prince. It's ridiculous to the point that where the whole 3 million people lived in Port-au-Prince, or at least I think it was more. When the
Yes.
earthquake happened, a city
Yeah.
built to
Yeah.
accommodate 150,000 thereabouts.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when the
Yes.
earth
Yes.
opened up, there was plenty to fall into it, because a lot of people just shouldn't have been there to start with.
Of
And
course. Of course.
these things called governments that have been succeeded themselves in Haiti, it's
Of
almost like
course.
they are oblivious to this.
Of
I
course.
think it's
Of
more
course.
like they're actually creating this, because
Of
that's
course.
actually what they're there for.
Of course. Of course. Well, one of the things that she said is because, like, in the sense of the fact that many people are trying to figure out what the motivations of those organizations, those militias are at the moment. And she echoes something that I've heard from many people, which is that basically they're guilty of aggressing the people on the ground. Many of the people, particularly in Port-au-Prince, have been victims. Yeah, and as you were just saying, your own cousin, as it stands as well. She said that she's not celebrating them, but she's also not going to demonize them either and condemn them.
Hmm.
And if you're looking at it from the broader purview of the entire context, yeah. What is your perspective on the intentionality and the possibility of these militias becoming or being or intending to be a positive and or revolutionary force within the country? Is that a pipe dream? Is that over investing in them? Are we getting caught up in the cult of personality as regards to Chesilier barbecue, or is that a real possibility?
I like that question, my brother. And it is very much something that's going to be more. We'll hear more and more about. What happens with these people, because they themselves are asking for a seat at the table. In the
Right.
person of Cherizier, he wants to sit at the
Yes.
to be part of the discussion. But
Yes.
you know something, my brother, I think we're falling into a kind of a trap, because it's
Mm.
putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Let's remind ourselves that revolutions are funny creatures. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
Some entities start out quite negative, and then for whatever reason,
Right.
needs must, or some kind of necessity happens where they actually fall into line. They serve the purpose of the people.
Right.
Our loving, beloved brother Malcolm X was a hood for some of his
Mm.
life, because of the way he was, because of his circumstances,
Yes.
the criminality of life against Africans in the U all over the planet would turn our
Mhm.
young geniuses into hoods, into
Yeah.
criminals.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the ancestors saw that, decided that he should live out his true
Mhm.
purpose. And so while
Right.
in prison, after being arrested for burglary, etc., or whatever other offenses, he became
Mhm.
himself. Yeah. So
Mm.
we don't know, but you see, it's not about, they don't decide. The groups, whatever they
Mm.
are, whatever the stated intent, they don't decide what happens in Haiti.
Yes, sir.
Haitian
Yes, sir.
people decide what happens in
Yeah.
Haiti.
Aye.
Let's not, the feet will not lead us, our hearts lead us, our heads and hearts lead us, and then they go,
Aye.
feet follow where our heads and hearts tell them to follow.
Aye. Yes, yes, yes.
When Haitians and those who love Haiti, those who are, because you are Haitian, my brother. Yes, you are, because it's about where your heart is. Haitians are Africans before they were anything else. Yeah. The Haiti is the place where Africans manifested themselves and sent a foot in the ground and say, "We will
Yes,
take this land." That you instead of that you brought us here for whatever silly purpose. Yeah.
yes,
We'll
yes,
take it
yes.
and we took it. Yeah. And
Mhm,
so,
mhm,
and those who would have us give up our African identity, they're talking
mm,
nonsense. We have
mm.
as much of our African identity as alongside with the Haitian identity. It was just
Yes, yes,
augmented.
yes.
We didn't swap.
Of,
Yeah.
of
And
course.
so, uh, when we decide the governance we want to give to Haiti, when we envision the Haiti we want, then
Mm,
those who are meant to be with that Haiti, they will. And those who are not, let them go wherever it is that they need to go. Whether it's
yes,
under the
sir.
ground or whether it's into the sea or just take some
Yes,
planes or whatever, get out. And so
yes, sir.
the envisioning of the Haiti we need to see after
Mm-hmm.
218 years of
Mm,
ridiculousness, of shooting
mm,
down, murdering your father because you didn't like the
yeah.
color of his skin, you didn't like the thing he
Mm,
said, or
mm,
whatever. That is Emperor Dessalines. And ever since
yes,
then, Haiti has been. Who does something like who shoots down your liberator and
yes,
cut him
sir.
up
Yes,
into
sir.
pieces, and then
Yes, sir.
decree that his name should
Mm,
not be spoken for 40 years. You
yes,
will
sir.
be arrested or whatever if you even
Yes,
utter
sir.
his name. Who does?
Yes, sir.
And then Haiti's most prosperous city
Mm-hmm.
is named after that character, Pétionville,
Mm,
named
mm-hmm.
after Alexander Pétion, the
Mm-hmm.
murderer of Dessalines.
Oh, Dessalines.
Changed
Mm-hmm.
from being an empire, the empire of freedom, the empire
Yes, sir.
of freedom. The
Yes,
place
sir.
where you touched it, you were free,
Mm,
no matter who
mm,
you. Yeah, the
yes,
devil
sir.
himself. Yeah, and so
Mm-hmm.
it changed it from the empire of freedom to the Republic of Haiti. It wants to
Yes,
show
sir.
the republic behind, we want a republic like France. We want to end all of that, and that's what
Yes.
it's about. And that thing has been that's who we've been for 218 years. That's
Yes,
what
yes, sir.
the flag of of Petion is what's being waved. Next month,
Mm,
18th, Haitians all over the planet will be celebrating Flag Day. But guess what
yes,
they're waving? The red and white,
yes, yes.
one on top of the other, with what's in
Mm-hmm.
the middle, white.
Yes, 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 yes.
That same white that when that flag was being formed was ripped out by Jean-Jacques
Mm-hmm.
Dessalines. So it is said. And then
Mm-hmm.
the red and blue joined together, said, "This will be our flag."
Yes, yes, yes.
Symbolically ripping out the white from what used to become Haiti. Get
Mm,
out, you don't belong here because you do not mean us any good.
mm,
What does Pétion do? First of all,
mm,
when Dessalines was made emperor by
mm-hmm.
his people, he didn't
Yeah,
for any title, but they say, "You are our emperor."
yes,
And
yeah.
understand that the term emperor isn't just a political thing. There's
Mm-hmm.
a voodoo
Mm,
connection in there.
mm,
In any laku, voodoo laku, in any, not many, but many, not all, there's an
mm-hmm.
emperor who's the lead unga.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the moment
Mm,
he became emperor, that blue,
mm-hmm.
it says that we're not a blue people, we are like black people. So
Mm,
that blue was changed to, let's not play around. Let's be clear about who we are, black and red. And
mm-hmm.
that seemed to have been the straw that broke the camel's back for some, because the first thing they did is change back to the blue, stick some white in
Mm-hmm.
it the moment they killed them. Yeah. So, and of
Mm-hmm.
course,
Mm-hmm.
there's the Constitution. Speaking of governance, there's the Constitution of Haiti of 1806. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
problems with that Constitution, and Haiti herself had problems with it.
Yes, yes, yes,
Even President Jean Bertrand Aristide, who I respect,
yes.
he made a monument for the Constitution, but which Constitution? The one from Papa Toussaint Louverture, the 1801 Constitution.
Mm,
Haiti, we were still Saint Domingue at the time. It's the Constitution of Saint Domingue. Yes, that Constitution says slavery is abolished forever in this land. Yes, it did that. Thank goodness. It was still the constitution of a colony of France, and that's
Yes,
that's what is in the square and main square, but not one commemoration of the Constitution of 1805. We are a black people. There's this film called Legally Blonde, this comedy about this girl was, I don't know, I think who's everybody thought was a beauty queen, but in fact she had the mind of a lawyer, etc. Legally Blonde. And but laying back in 1805, he made people legally black.
Yes,
you were
sir.
black.
Yes,
You were
sir.
legally black. If your skin
Yes, sir.
looked like this, you were black.
Yes.
But if your skin
Yes, sir.
looked like this, you were black.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Legally
Yes,
black.
sir.
Yeah, this is the black people. And so,
Yeah.
but apparently those things were too much for some. And they shut him up into
Yeah.
pieces. And then the country's been going in this thing that he's been going for this past 218 years,
Yes, sir. Yes,
leading us
sir.
to where we are today. And who knows, we could sink even further.
Yes.
Maybe we have to sink even further for us to rise.
Yes, sir.
This is a travesty. This has to stop. And
Yeah.
we start by envisioning an IT that we want, and not in those terms of running around little president, a little senator, and all of that, where we're all black, and then we're all white suits with ties and looking like, to me, monkeys. Monkey see, monkey do. Stop that. Think about how you govern governance of a country, not governments, but governance of a land that has so much to give to itself, to its people, to the world, and stop this playing around like unruly little children who have no upbringing, and start thinking like Gamoon, as they say in Haiti, big people, adults. So I'll stop there for a moment. Yeah, for now.
Yes, Uncle. Give thanks for that. Give thanks for